G'day and welcome to Animal Tales with Tim Faulkner. That's me, and today I'm talking grey-headed flying foxes. The grey-headed flying foxes live in eastern Australia, and they're a species of bat, a fruit-eating bat. Now their population has actually been in pretty steep decline over the past few decades for reasons that I'll go into a bit later. But they are an incredibly important species. One of the things that they do is cross-pollinate all the East Coast eucalypt forests. And without them, we don't have the next generation of eucalypts. Bats are very cool, and flying foxes are no exception. They live upside down, they sleep upside down, they breed upside down, they feed upside down. Now, when we have a look at their physical features, if we start maybe at the feet, we imagine a bat that's upside down. Now their feet have little fishing hooks on the end, and they're for holding onto the branches. When they fly in, they're still quite clumsy, so by able to hook those feet on, that's how they maintain their hold on the surface or the tree that they're in. Now if we come down, the body is all furred, and that fur is good for camouflage, and it's good for insulation to keep the bat warm. They're a mammal, and they have warm blood. But fur, like we have clothing, helps to keep that body warm. Now when we look at their wings, they're just incredible. And would you believe that that entire wing is an outstretched hand? Now, it's a little difficult to imagine, but when the wing unfolds, each of the fingers are long stretches and the bones are elongated. Now the skin on there is incredibly soft, and it's really fragile between those wings. Now they have to use quite a fair bit of effort to be able to fly. They're a heavy-bodied mammal with full bones, different to birds. They require a lot of energy to fly. They're a heavy-bodied mammal, and their bones aren't hollow like birds. So those wings, which are made up of soft skin rather than feathers like birds, are really used to a lot of power to get those bats airborne. Why do they go airborne? To search for their food. So they live in a roost every day. They'll go back. There could be hundreds of thousands of bats, and it's safety in numbers. Safety from predators like owls, safety from predators like birds of prey, and certainly up in the trees, they're safe from predators that were on the ground. And to some of their senses, their sense of smell is wonderful. They can sniff out a flowering eucalyptus tree kilometres away. Their eyesight is also reasonable. It's not bad. It's not the best eyesight, but it's not bad. Their tongue is used like a brush. So when they get to their food source, which is mostly nectar of gum trees or fruits, they've got teeth that are very capable of chewing, biting, but also a tongue that's able to lick nectar out of the flowers. Each day, when flying foxes sleep, because they are nocturnal, they sleep in what's called a roost. Now a roost is normally going to be some really old trees that can provide homes upside down for thousands of fruit bats, and they come together in safety in numbers. The big group and being in a group means that there's a lesser chance a predator is going to eat you. Safety in numbers. But each night they leave the roost and they fly out into the forests. They look for trees that might be fruiting or figs that are fruiting, but they love nectar from our East Coast Australian eucalyptus trees. That's what they're searching for. Grey-headed flying fox live along the Great Dividing Range in eastern Australia and the coastal flats. Their habitat is typically eucalypt woodland, or the gullies that are between it. Anywhere there are eucalyptus trees that flower and provide nectar, that's where the bats live. And our East Australian eucalypt forests are the largest on Earth. That's why we have flying fox. The grey-headed flying foxes, their population has been halving every decade or so. It's a real problem. Now, some of the major threats that they face are unnatural threats, like getting caught in barbed wire fences, electrocuted on our power lines, kept from their food sources because they like to eat fruit. So when we have an orchard, like an apple orchard, where do you think the flying foxes go? But they're not allowed in that orchard, so they're kept away, sometimes forcibly. Now either way, we have a population that is in decline, and without their protection and conservation, we could end up with forests without bats. Let's not let that happen. Our flying foxes also breed upside down. A male and female mate, and that female, she's a mammal, has that baby inside throughout the pregnancy. And when she gives birth, it's quite incredible. Upside down, the joey's born, and it falls down and is cradled by mum's wings. And just inside here is her teat, her nipple, and that's what the little bat feeds from. Now it lives under mum's wing, and clutches to her body for the first months of its life. Now, at a particular point, it's too big to fly out with mum every night, so mum leaves it at the roost. And she comes back and finds that little bat every single night until that little bat is big enough to head out on its own feeding and foraging missions. Flying fox do quite an incredible spectacle. They need to drink at particular times of year. Throughout the cooler months, they can get all of their moisture from the food they eat. But when it gets really hot, and I'll tell you two examples of very different places I've seen flying foxes drink. One is in Sydney Harbour, in the freshwater ponds down at Darling Harbour. The bats, they fly down just on dark and they hit the water with their breast. Now what happens is the breast gets wet, and while the bat's flying, it licks and it drinks. And I've seen that in the middle of Sydney. I've also seen a different species of flying fox called little red flying fox in the Kimberley in northwest and Western Australia. Now again, in the warmer months, it comes down and wets that breast, but guess who's there waiting for it? Freshwater crocodiles. Hundreds of them lined up for the flying foxes to come through every night, and it was just incredible. But that's how flying foxes drink. Your homework for today is to research and draw for me a bat with outstretched wings. I want you to pay particular attention to the way that its fingers make those arms and where the soft parts of the skin go. Please do that and send it to me. That's all for today. See you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now, the keepers and I are looking after all of our animals and our families. But we all have a bit of extra time at the moment, like you probably do too. So this is a great distraction for us, and hopefully you. If you like what you've seen or want to show me your homework, just put it into the comments. This is what I do, connecting people with nature, and that can't stop. I'll see you next time.